Cepher Bible, Genesis 3. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, has Elohim said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree that which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for Elohim knows that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her man with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his woman hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim amongst the trees of the garden. And Yahuwah Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And Yahuwah Elohim said unto the woman, What is this that you have done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yahuwah Elohim said unto the serpent, Because ye have done this, you are cursed above all cattle, above every beast of the field. Upon your belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your man, and he shall rule over you. And unto Adam he said, Because you have hearkened unto the voice of your woman, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. The sweat of your face shall you eat bread till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and unto dust shall you return. And Adam called his woman's name Chua, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his woman did Yahuwah Elohim make coats of skin, and clothe them. And Yahuwah Elohim said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand, and take also the tree of life, and eat it, and live forever. Therefore Yahuwah Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubim, and Aleph Tav, a flaming sword, which turned in every way, to guard the way of the tree of life. Messianic Aleph Tav Scriptures, Genesis 3. Now the serpent was more prudent counsel than any living of the ground, which Jehovah our Elohim had made. And the serpent said to the woman, Did Elohim really say that you are not to eat of every tree of the garden? Note, English word translated as serpent is Hebrew nakash and is 3 letters, none, life, het, protect, shin, fire. This being is not made from earth, and its Hebrew root word nakash means to diligently observe, divine, i.e. angel. And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim said you should not eat of it, neither should you touch it, or you will die. And the serpent said to the woman, You will not die, because Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, then your eyes will be opened, you will be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took the fruit and ate it, and gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate some also. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And they heard Aleph Tav, voice of Jehovah our Elohim, walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Adam, man, and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Jehovah our Elohim among the trees of the garden. And Jehovah our Elohim called to Adam and said to him, Where are you? And he said, Aleph Tav, your voice I heard in the garden. I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And Elohim said, Who told Aleph Tav you that you were naked? Have Aleph Tav you eaten of the fruit, which I commanded that not, Aleph Tav, you eat? And Adam said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it. And said Jehovah Elohim to the woman, What is Aleph Tav, this you have done? And the woman said, The serpent tricked me, and I ate it. And said Jehovah Elohim to the serpent, Because you have done, Aleph Tav, this cursed are Aleph Tav you above all cattle, and every wild beast of the field. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life. Aleph Tav, I will put enmity, hatred between you and the woman, and between your seed, descendants, and her seed. He will bruise, overwhelm you, your Satan head chief, Aleph, and you will bruise his heel. Prophecy fulfilled, Genesis 3:15. He will bruise Satan's head, Hebrews 2:14, 1 John 3:18, born in the seed of a woman, Matthew 1:18. To the woman he said, I will greatly increase your pain in childbirth, but your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of Aleph, your wife, and have eaten from the tree which I commanded you not to eat from, the ground is cursed on your account. In toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat Aleph, herbs of the field. You will eat bread by the sweat of your forehead, till you return to the ground, because you are taken out of it. For dust, Aleph, you are, and to dust you will return. And Adam called Aleph, his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. To Adam and his wife did Jehovah our Elohim make coats of animal skins and clothe them. And Jehovah our Elohim said, see, Adam has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. And now he may stretch out his hand and take from the tree of life and eat it and live forever. Therefore Jehovah our Elohim sent him out from the garden of Eden to till Aleph, the ground from which he was taken. So he drove out Aleph, Adam, and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden Aleph, cherubim, Aleph, and with flaming swords, and with flaming sword, which turned every way to guard the Aleph, the way of the tree of life. Brenton, Septuagint, Genesis 3. Now the serpent was the most crafty of all the brutes of the earth, which the Lord God made. And the serpent said to the woman, wherefore has God said, eat not of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said to the woman, ye shall not surely die, for God knew that in whatever day you should eat of it, your eyes would be opened, and you would be as gods, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes to look upon, and beautiful to contemplate. And having taken of its fruit she ate, and she gave to her husband also with her, and they ate. And the eyes of both were opened, and they perceived that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons to go around them. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the afternoon. And both Adam and his wife hid themselves from the face of the Lord God in the midst of the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called Adam and said to him, Adam, where art thou? And he said to him, I heard thy voice as thou walkest in the garden, and I feared because I was naked, and I hid myself. And God said to him, who told thee that thou wast naked, unless thou hast eaten of the tree concerning which I charged thee of it alone not to eat? And Adam said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And the Lord God said to the woman, why hast thou done this? The woman said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate. And the Lord God said to the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and all the brutes of the earth. On thy breast and belly that thou shalt go, and thou shalt eat earth all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed, and he shall watch against thy head, and thou shalt watch against his heel. And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy pains, and thy groanings and pain. Thou shalt bring forth children, and thy submission shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And to Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife, and eaten of the tree concerning which I charged thee of it, only not to eat of that thou hast eaten, cursed is the ground in thy labors, and pain shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat thy bread until thou return to the earth out of which thou wast taken, for earth thou art, and to earth thou shalt return. And Adam called the name of his wife Life, because she was the mother of all living. The Lord God made for Adam and his wife garments of skin and clothed them. And God said, behold, Adam is become as one of us to know good and evil, and now lest at any time he stretch forth his hand, and take of the tree of life and eat, and so he shall live forever. So the Lord God sent him forth out of the garden of delight to cultivate the ground out of which he was taken, and cast out Adam, and caused him to dwell over against the garden of delight, and stationed the cherubs and the fiery sword that turns about to keep the way of the tree of life. Targum, Onkelos, Genesis 3. And the serpent, Chivjah, was more crafty than all the animals of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, is it in truth that the Lord said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? The woman said to the serpent, of the fruit of the tree of the garden we may eat, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Lord hath said, you shall not eat of it, nor approach to it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, not to die will you die, for it is manifest before the Lord that in the day in which you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be he Rabin, as the great ones, knowing good and evil. The woman saw that the tree was good to eat, and that it was salutary to the eyes, and a tree desirable to contemplate. And she took of its fruitage, Ava, and ate, and she gave to her husband with her, and he ate. And the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed for themselves the leaves of the fig tree, and made for themselves cinctures. And they heard the voice of the word of the Lord God walking in the garden in the evening of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from before the Lord God among the trees of the garden. The Lord God called to Adam and said to him, Where art thou? And he said, The voice of thy word heard I in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I would hide. And he said, Who showed thee that thou wast naked? Of the tree of which I commanded that eating of it thou should not eat. Hast thou eaten? And Adam said, The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave to me of the fruit, and gave to me of the tree, and I did eat. And the Lord God said to the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent led me astray, and I did eat. And the Lord God said to the serpent, Because thou hast done this, more accursed art thou than all the cattle, and than all the beasts of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and the dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and between the woman, and between thy son and her son. He will remember thee what thou didst to him from the beginning, and thou shalt be observant unto him at the end. And to the woman he said, Multiplying I will multiply thy sorrows and thy pains. In sorrow shalt thou bring forth children, and unto thy husband shall be thy desire, and lie, he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, Because thou hast obeyed the words of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree about which I commanded thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it, accursed is the ground on thy account. With labors shalt thou eat from it all the days of thy life. Thorns and thistles it shall put forth for thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, until that thou return to the earth, because from it thou wast created, for dust thou art, and to dust thou wilt return. And Adam called the name of his wife Hava, because she was the mother of all the children of men. The Lord God made for Adam and for his wife vestments of honor upon the skin of their flesh, and clothed them. The Lord God said, Behold, man is become singular, or alone, Yachid, in the world by himself, knowing good and evil. And now, lest he stretch forth his hand, and take also the tree of life, and eat and live forever. And the Lord God sent him forth from the garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he had been created. And he drove out the man before the garden of Eden. He caused to dwell the cherubim, the sharp sword which revolved to keep the way of the tree of life.